And I mean, to get into some of the best research universities in the UK, you have to do this, absolutely have to do this. Some universities you'll be able to contact and you'll be able to start the dialogue and a supervisor will talk you through the process a lot more. Others, you'll need to very much have this prepared before you go to them. Otherwise, they won't take you seriously. Okay, so here's what it should include. It should definitely include the intended area and the core research questions that you're trying to answer. All research is done because there's an initial question that needs to be looked at. So you're trying to find the answer to that question, and what is that question? And then the possible methodologies. If you have to use certain types of experimentation, what are they and how are you going to do it? And do you have experience in that? The type of approach that you're proposing, and how you're going to complete your PhD in the time available. You may have heard from the universities in the room outside that a PhD takes 3 years in the UK. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. Actually, at my university, we're now trying to rephrase all of that, and we're trying to change some of our outlines, because a lot of our PhDs take 4 years or more, especially if there's a lot of experimentation, especially if it's a really well-developed area already, theoretical mathematics or some engineering subjects where you'll be doing lots and lots of very lengthy experimentation before you get anywhere close to writing it up. They can take a lot longer. So three years is probably the very, very minimum it would take to do a PhD and to write it up. So that's where talking to your supervisor can give you a really good idea about all of these things and where to find some of the information as well. Okay, it takes time. You can't just do it overnight. It's not like writing an application form. It's more than that, much, much more. And you'll probably need to start that dialogue with the university and with the supervisor to be able to get it perfect, especially if it's a very competitive department in a very strong university. Okay. Okay, so your research question. This is the first part of your proposal. What your research intends to show or find. What specific questions your research will attempt to answer. What relevance is of the topic within the discipline and more widely in the wider context of the subject area or outside of that subject area. And why you think what you're going to research is actually important, because it has to be. And then, of course, we want to know about you as well as a student, just like we would if you were coming to us for an undergraduate degree or a postgraduate degree. We want to see what else drives you. So why have you become interested in this subject in the first place, and why do you want to continue in the area? What experience do you have, and what are you going to bring to the department as a very strong research student? You've still got to prove yourself to us. We still want to know that you're going to be a very strong student. Not just your particular area of academic interest has to match ours, but also you've got to be strong in that area and prove that. So provide your awareness of key texts and their relevance to your proposed research. That's really important. It shows that you've read around the area and you really understand the type of area that you're going to go into. Not just local research, but also global research. Okay, methodology. I talked about a little bit about instrumentation and things like that, but there's also different ways of surveying, different ways of doing research, and you need to show that you have experience in those areas or at least understand them, and that you can handle maybe the statistics that are being used by the department to analyze the data that you're collecting, for example. So if you do, of course, research doesn't go smoothly. And so if you do encounter problems, how you propose to overcome them, if you foresee any problems in the type of research that you're trying to do. And demonstrate an awareness of planning and timescale of the research. It's a completely independent process. You are, of course, you're supervised, but there's no structure to how you do this work. You have to try and complete it within the timescale, and it's very much project management. You have to work out exactly how long each of these processes is going to take, and then put that into a timescale and demonstrate that you understand that. With references and bibliographies, you should tell us about the books and the publications and the journals that you've read. You should also put them into a list and mark any of the ones that are particular interest to you. If you're not aware of Harvard referencing, you need to be aware of that, and you can just search for Harvard referencing on the internet and it'll tell you how to do it. And that's how it should be put in your research proposal as well. You need to have the footnotes and the bibliography at the back, and there's the specific way of doing that. So these are the common problems that we often see in research proposals and applications, and why students get rejected from us and from other universities. The research topic is too general. We want to see really specific information around a topic. So make sure that you are being as focused as possible. We don't want to see somebody writing in with a research proposal on medical engineering. That's not specific enough. What area and what topic and what particular problem is going to be solved within that area? And that's what we want to know. That it doesn't demonstrate strong critical insight into current academic debates. That's where all that background reading and all of that understanding around your subject area comes in. And again, how you demonstrate that to us to show that you really understand the concepts and the need for the research that you're doing. And the third one is kind of out of your hands, that it doesn't fit with our particular areas of interest. That we just don't have a supervisor who has the space or has that particular interest. So you'll often find that research groups in the UK, well, the structure of research in the UK is university, department, school, research group, supervisor, research students. So that's the kind of structure. And research groups, usually a university will have one supervisor to 6 research students, depending on the type of research and depending on the topic. But usually that's what they'll be allowed to supervise. If they have 6 researchers and they're quite new researchers, then they just don't have the space to take anybody else. And certainly very competitive departments will constantly be full. And there just might not be space over the next 2.5 years to accommodate you. And it might be, well, we'd love to take you on, but actually we're full for the next 2.5 years. So sorry about that. But of course, you can ask for referrals onto similar departments or universities that are doing very similar research. Okay. So before you submit your proposal, check the structure, get somebody to read through it and make sure all the grammar is correct and that everything's in order. Make sure the department to which you're applying does not have any requirements that you've missed. You can find those out through speaking to the supervisor, but most of them are listed online now and they're very straightforward. And for students for overseas, that's usually English language requirements. There's usually, obviously, the research proposal, all of your qualifications and your qualifications that are attested and translated. And yeah, a complete list of references and, of course, get somebody to look it over for you. Okay, that's death by bullet point, if ever I've seen it. Sorry about that. It really just gives an overview of exactly what you need to... I mean, if you were going to write your research proposal tomorrow, this is the list that you need to check off before you submit it. Objectives, an overview of the research question, importance of previous research, main techniques that you're going to use, data collection procedures, sources that you're going to be using, analytical techniques that you're going to be using as part of your research, a timetable, your project management and how you're going to manage that project, and then references and a short bibliography. Okay, so how do you apply? Online application form, complete everything that you can. We need to know as much about you as possible. Of course we do. 2 academic references, usually. If you've been out of research for a while, or you've been out of academia for a while and you don't have 2 academic references that are still alive or that have moved on, or you just don't have any contact with them anymore or the university, then we'll accept other references. But usually we'd require 2 academic references. Degree transcripts, English language, research proposal, and make sure, well, you can find all of this on websites, and usually apply only online now.